Okay, let's see. Let me just tie my broken shoes up here if you don't mind for a minute. Let's see.
Do the shoes come pre-broken in with like paint spots on them?
These were from a movie, so they were, real weathered
they
or
were
whatever.
weathered,
I just really liked them.
Yeah, they're really good.
Is this our 9th movie together?
It is.
I know what I'm doing.
It's a little late for a career change, ain't it?
You have just the rights that I give you.
But you have to take into account the Chris Nolan movies where we never appear on screen
Right.
together. So there are 2 of those.
You weren't even on set.
We weren't even on the set
Same
together.
time, no.
No, he put me on a different planet on the first one, on Interstellar. He didn't want us to have anything to do with each other.
You have literally raised me from the dead.
More people say that's my favorite movie than anything I've done.
Yeah,
Interstellar.
to me too, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, people love it. I remember reading that script and just weeping. I just thought it was something about parenthood and the idea of loss of that time with your child. It was so kind of existentially terrifying to me that, especially at that time in my life when my kids were young, it was like the worst thing I could imagine, like having to sacrifice that time.
Which movie is your favorite of his?
That's a really tough question. I just rewatched The Prestige.
Bale's unbelievably good in that.
Unbelievably good.
Listen, that man is the one on me to a kill. You die first. Listen, George. If he's alive,
For some weird reason, it's not a movie that people talk about when they talk about his.
Whenever I talk about his
I used to think that Memento wasn't, when it came out, it was one of my favorite movies. And then he made Tenet and
Inception.
and Dunkirk.
That's one of the things I love about working with him, and also with you. It's different in the sense that with you or with Ben, we have this 43-year shared history. We grew up together, so we don't waste any time on diplomacy, which I love. It's the most welcome thing because it's just you dispense with all of the pleasantries and you just kind of start problem solving.
But never unkind.
It doesn't need to be an unkind.
It's constructive.
Yes, exactly. But that can be really difficult, particularly in the arts. And it's really nice when you find people who are comfortable enough being blunt but kind.
Then you can also believe them when they say, no, it's great, we got it.
Exactly, yeah.
Do you like apples?
Yeah.
Well, I got a number. How do you like them apples?
How old were you when you did Good Will Hunting?
When we shot it, I was 26, so you were 21. And Ben was 24, and then it came out the following year.
You're still kind of a kid.
Yeah, I didn't think of it that way. It's weird.
No, you don't feel that way at all.
You don't feel that way, and we started writing it. Ben was 20 and I was 22.
My uncle could probably get you on a demo tape. Can you do that?
You kidding me? I asked you yesterday if I could get a job.
And I told you no yesterday.
I've been in therapy my whole life, more or less, long as I can remember. And there is a lot of comedy to be mined from those sessions.
This idea of mental health is, I think, on most people's minds today. This job was always a form of therapy for me. And we wrote Good Will Hunting and didn't know anything about therapy, but the movie is very much about therapy and how much it can help people and what it. I mean, we knew what we'd read, we knew stories we'd heard, but we were making it up mostly. You know?
Which is funny because that movie is referenced when people talk about like therapy, and to many people, like the
I've
relationship.
talked to my therapist about it.
The relationship between you and Robin, it really was powerful for some people, like as what a relationship between someone and their therapist could be.
It's not your fault.
And to think that you had never been in therapy and didn't know much about it is,
we
I
were
guess,
just
a testament
intuiting
to
what we thought it should be, right? If it really was going to work. But we had friendships at the time that did that, and we weren't afraid to be vulnerable with each other as young men. And I think also part of being an actor and going, putting yourself in those positions and getting rejected constantly, there's and then knowing that somebody else is living that same life and making those same sacrifices and putting up with that and going through it too, that shared sense of experience, in that career. That's why, we would clump up and hang out together and talk about getting okay thanks in these auditions and realizing that, oh, well, if it's happening to him and I know he's good, then maybe that's not such a damning judgment of my ability, the fact that I didn't get this job or that job.
Are you aware of a difference in how you approach a movie, like just shooting a movie, between then and now? How many movies you've done in between? 30?
No, 70 maybe.
70.
Probably, yeah.
Between Good Will Hunting and
I was 25 years.
I
yeah.
really haven't been paying attention.
You've only seen 30 of them, but yeah, no, quite a few. I mean, cameos and little things. I
Yeah,
love doing that.
yeah.
That stuff's always really fun, so that probably doesn't count.
When you were younger, did you think more about like, what will this do for my career? I do this movie, it'll do this for my career. I
No.
do that movie, I'll do that. No.
Never. Because I never thought that would work as a strategy.
At some point, you have to take a job because you think, I need a job.
For sure, yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, right after Good Will Hunting came out, I worked nonstop probably for three years, literally.
Because if you
picking
go
up-
25 years thinking you're not going to work,
Yes.
you can't just change gears immediately into like, oh, now I'm going to be selective.
And
you
you
just take what comes.
You take what
Yeah.
comes. And I was just really lucky. I remember getting offered Saving Private Ryan right on the back of Good Will Hunting. Good Will
Mm-hmm.
Hunting hadn't come out, and Steven put me in that movie. Ben got Armageddon at the same time, which turned out to be a big summer
Mm-hmm.
blockbuster. But we would have taken anything, and I would have
Mm.
taken Armageddon, and he would have taken Saving Private Ryan, and we were really actors for hire and desperate to work at that point. I took all of these jobs,
Yeah.
but they were really good jobs.
Yeah, you
know?
weren't in a position where you had to do things that you didn't like.
I was getting really,
Offered really good things,
offers,
yeah.
yeah.
Someone I love said to me that like the business of a life, like not what you do for a living, but the day-to-day like real work that you're doing is building a mechanism inside of yourself that where you can put in grief and heartache and pain, and that it alchemizes it and spits out grace and kindness and goodwill, you know, and that like that is really what you're learning to do with all the challenges and the stuff that happens to you in life. You're just trying to get better at building something inside yourself so that it doesn't get all clogged up and poison you. And that really made sense to me. You go like, okay, right, that's what I'm supposed to be focusing on. And it's kind of a spiritual practice, but the being an actor, it is a kind of making a living out of that practice of saying, I'm going to take this pain and stuff and things that are confusing or hurtful in my life, and I'm going to turn them into something that's positive. I'm going to role play. I'm going to process all this stuff through pretending to be somebody. It does create a connection between you and the people that are maybe watching your movie or whatever it is that you're doing, and go like, yeah, I felt that way too. Now I understand that a little bit better. I understand myself a little bit better. And that, more than anything, is probably what's kept me coming back to being an actor.
I'm in the middle of a high-speed car chase.
Think about the person you want it to be.
What kind of person do you want to be? I never thought about how will this affect the people that watch it in the world. Like, what am I putting into the world? It just didn't cross my mind as like a young person just trying to like get jobs. And then once you have a few choices, you're trying to pick the one you think will be the best movie. But it wasn't until I had kids that I started to think about like, what message am I sending? And I'm still not sure that that is the best way to approach like art, you know what I mean? Whether it's just supposed to like open yourself to being a channel through which something else is coming. I just don't really have the answers to that, but I can't help but think about it every single time I do a movie. I'm like, do I want to invite this character into me and my life and have my kids see me portraying that? And do I want to contribute to this movie being in the world now that, you know, a movie that will be seen that has my kids in it and my kids will see it? I think so much about that, and it's totally changed the parts that I take, despite the fact that they have never seen more than one movie that I've done, just because they just don't seem to have any interest. But that's the trump card, and anytime I'm making a decision about if I'm going to do a movie, is like, is this something that I could sit there with my kids and watch and feel okay about? Do you think that way when you're deciding what part to play?
Yeah, I mean, if there is a message, what is it? I mean, I don't want to put all my efforts in support of something I don't believe in, but I think on balance, movies are these wonderful tools for empathy and compassion and things that, you know, the world needs more of.
I'm trying.
Good. Stop talking.
No alcohol detected.
I don't think I've ever given parenting advice, even though it's a thing that I've thought about more than anything else in my life. But I've never felt like I know how to do this.
I know what to tell this person.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we've talked about it more as just anecdotally, like this was happening to my kid, that was happening to your kid. You just tell stories.
Usually our stories kind of center around self-deprecation and the thing that we did wrong as a father.
Yeah.
And then I said this or I did that. And it's just, it's more about cautionary tales.
Yeah. It's a celebration of the very real phenomenon of learning more from your kids than you will ever teach them.
Casey's bouncing up a bar at Harvard next week. We should go up there.
They don't run Harvard at night, last time I checked.
Where are you from?
I'm from Lynn.
Oh, yeah. That makes sense.
Well, we do keep coming back here to do movies, though I hadn't been back since The Departed, which is 17 or 18 years ago.
Hadn't been back to shoot.
To shoot, to shoot.
Boston's changed a lot. It's really not the city that we grew up in. On the other hand, it's the place I still feel more at home in than anywhere else. So that says something about like what a place does to you when you're growing. It's probably forever be connected to this place, no matter how much it changes.
But there is something so familiar, because we grew up here, and it's really the culture, like when I'm meaning the sense of humor and the way that people just tend to look at the world back here. There's a sarcasm, a cynicism that's really fun when you come from Boston because you know what it is. And I think some people get put off by it. It can feel abrasive to people who aren't from here, but when you're from here, it feels like a comfortable old pair of socks.